So the next day, the agent called me and told me these things about the book, how well it is, and he said, "You've got to come out. I want you to have lunch with the editor of Pocketbooks at Simon & Schuster, and we want to talk about the book." So I did fly out, and he said, "We want to do the book. I run paperbacks here at Simon & Schuster, and I want that book. But it has to come out as a hardcover first. So I'll get it published in hardcover, and then we'll bring it out in paperback, and that's what I'm really most interested in." Anyway, so we had a very good discussion. He said, "You have to write me a proposal," which I did. The agent helped me to do that. That's the first part of publishing any book with any publisher. You have to, and the proposal is almost the most important part that you write. And then, because of my contacts at Playboy, knowing that I'm writing a book, the editor says, "I'd like to take a look at it." So all I could send him was a proposal, which was a sample chapter, it was the first chapter, and he looks at it, he says, "This is great. We're going to excerpt it in Playboy." So
that's a big deal at that time.
That was a big break. That was a very big break. And then when they published the book, they took the whole back cover of the New York Times Sunday magazine and published the book and a picture of me, a phone in my head, and this is what a happy headhunter looks like. So it was
first book out of the chute.
First book, big break. So it's important to understand what writing means to me and what it means in my business. It means that I really can't build a big firm. I could do that if it's a really big firm, but for 3 or 4 or 5 people working, no barn burner wants to join somebody who's going to be writing books half the time and is not really promoting enough business for the rest of them. So I've always worked solo. I'm happy with that, but it does. I'm often asked, well, how do you do this business as a loner? And how do you compete with the major firms? And what kind of a research staff do you have? And so those are the kinds of questions I
So how do you compete?
Right off the bat. Well, first of all, there are 2 tools in search, the telephone and the airplane. I know how to use both of them just about as well, immodestly, just about as well as anybody in the business at that time. And so I knew how to do searches. I did searches. I got search clients. But I did have this hobby. And when it came to actual work, I was working a 20-hour week, not a 4, because I was doing 20 hours of writing or whatever. So I would take on assignments I really enjoyed. I usually got the kinds of assignments I wanted. I got the job done. I had a meeting with Midas, the muffler people, one time. And there's always a song and dance about what have you done, what kind of assignments have you done, this is what we need. And you go through all of these things and you tell them about your experience. And we're talking, I don't remember his name, wonderful guy, he looks at me and says, "Have you ever had a doubt?" And I thought, if he only knew. But I said, "Of course not." That was my answer. And then the conversation wore on, and he said, how do you compete with the Spencer Stewart and the Heydrich struggles? Really? Really, just, we may not be working together. I'm just curious, how do you compete? I said, any assignment I do. Well, I said, first of all, it'd be ridiculous for me to say that I'm a competitor to those companies. They have huge staffs. They do many, many searches. I might do 12 searches a year at the most. I said, but any search I do, they would love to have in their shop.
Well said.
And that sort of ended that conversation. I did not get the assignment with him. I don't know why. We had good chemistry, but he went with another.
After that, you wanted everybody to ask you that question.
Yes, and I did get that, and I'm still using it. I'm using it here. So that was how I worked out and negotiated. I'm a writer. And I'm a recruiter, and I really want to do more and more development. And once in a while, I get a client that'll let me do a development activity. And then I got courageous enough to say I no longer do search work. I only do these kinds of things.